I believe we're good. All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Tom Fawkes Q&A panel, otherwise known as Some A's for Your Q's. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Tom Fawkes. I do YouTube Let's Plays, Twitch streams. I'll animate sometimes. I'll vlog sometimes when I go to conventions. Hoping to expand on that. But if you have any questions and you're either watching the stream or you're happy to be in the audience and you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or whatever, and I'll call you out. Right there.
Hey Tom, it's great to see you here in Detroit.
It's great to be here.
Because I never thought I'd see you here. Normally I'd see you at MagFest.
Yes. I go to a lot of conventions, though.
And I remember watching your Super Metroid playthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you went in blind.
Yes.
And I was just wondering, what is like the worst blind playthrough you've ever done? Where you're like, I really need to like reference something or get help with this.
Okay, so to those of you watching on the stream, the question was, I do blind Let's Plays sometimes, and he's wondering what's the worst blind Let's Play I've ever done where I absolutely needed help with it. Or just like I guess going in blind in general. I think Earthbound was probably the one for that one, because there was a lot in there where it was kind of cryptic, I would say. Like some of the stuff was cryptic. Oh, if you're watching on the stream and there's Source Filmmaker up, that's going to be for like, if anybody has any Source Filmmaker related questions, I'll be able to cover them, and actually show like what the whole spiel is with that. But yeah, no, a lot of stuff in Earthbound was pretty cryptic. And it's like, the weird thing about Earthbound 2 is that it's not really a grindy game, because you could pretty much beat any enemy at any level, depending on what skills you have and what items you have, especially if you got big bottle rockets with Jeff. But yeah, Earthbound was probably the one I had the most trouble with in terms of going in blind. Any other questions? Well, this is going to be a short panel. All right. Let me just do one thing real quick. I didn't think the displays thing through very well. So, give me just one moment. Okay, so, what happened to Meet the Heavy? I'm gonna be honest, I was expecting a lot more questions, so, at this point, I honestly got nothing. You right there. YouTube, so the question was, what advice do I have for starting YouTube Let's Plays and Twitch? And I would say in terms, at least in Let's Play terms, consistency is very key, as well as even if it seems like, especially on Twitch, if it seems like that there's not many people on your stream, speak as though you're speaking to a crowd. So, because I see a lot of like the channels that are just getting started, and like they're just sitting there silently playing the game and occasionally glancing over at chat to see if anybody's responded. But you have to keep the commentary going no matter what. You just have to keep talking, pretty much no matter what. So the follow-up to that was, would you recommend having somebody else with you on Skype to be, co-commentating with? And that's always a good thing to have somebody on there, so like you can have a back and forth, because there's some times where you just can't think of something to say. If you're trying to build yourself up, I wouldn't recommend it too much. If you're going into it as like a group thing, then I'd recommend it a lot more, because you want the entire group involved with it. But I wouldn't do it all the time though. So solo is good if you feel like you need that boost of being able to have a back and forth with somebody. Then yes, having somebody in on a Skype call or even in the same room would be a good idea. Right there.
Your
On what? I've never watched it, so I have no idea. The question was, what's my opinion on Sword Art Online? I've never watched it. They said don't.
Actually, you have one
Where? Oh, I've got one in the stream. Okay. Hang on, I had the chat up. Okay. Stressfire asks, how do you normally keep up a schedule, Tom? I know it tends to be difficult. In terms of a streaming schedule, I used to have like a very pretty strict schedule. I was always like, okay, these 5 days a week, I'm going to start at this time. I'm going to end at this time, and that'll be it. But I've gotten a lot more lenient with it. I'd say having a schedule is good for starting off because you would need that sort of okay, I know where to find this person at this time. But as you grow, as things kind of get easier and get bigger, then you won't have to stick to that as much, because you'll just be able to be like, okay, I'm going live, and then you'll get the people who already know, because if you tend to form patterns even if you don't keep a schedule, so then you'll tend to keep attracting people even if you're not regular. We've got another one here from Mako Ace saying, how long do you spend looking at other streamers, getting advice or taking in their probs and pros of streams? Okay, so pretty much I spend quite a bit of time in other streams. Usually it's because I'm entertained by them. I spend a lot of time in Ray's stream, Brown Man on Twitch, Proton Johns, and I've taken a lot from theirs. My at least in terms of streaming, my intermission stream is pretty much ripped straight from Brown Man's, because he does something very similar with that. But usually I just go for the entertainment purposes, and then I end up learning about what they do. I didn't initially do anything with Twitch alerts at all, and then I saw people use it. It's okay, I'll set it up, and then it's I see how other people used it, and then I kind of incorporated their style into it and sort of made it my own sort of thing. But in terms of But yeah, it's good to watch other streamers and kind of take from what there is. There are some streamers where it's I look at them and it's they're doing well, they have a lot of views, and but they'll do things where it's if you sub to me, then I'll do this really ridiculous thing, and it's that's, I don't know, to each their own, but in my opinion, that's really, I don't really find that to be, I got a weird, code of ethics thing going on. So I kind of like the, keep it on the straight and narrow and not have to do anything outrageous in order to get noticed. Right there. The question was, how many pairs of sunglasses do I have? I've got 5 pairs like this in different colors, and I've got 1 pair that's just clear glasses. All of them are prescription. I got them from a site called Zenny Optical. Hashtag not an ad, but they got a lot of glasses for as low as $8. I think these with just the where it's just the base lenses. These are base $8 glasses, and the tint with prescription was $15, not including shipping. Right there. So what was that again?
What's a good way to prevent yourself from going off on tangents when you're in the middle of streaming your let's play, going through the
Okay, so the question was, what's a good way to prevent yourself from going off on tangents when you're streaming or let's playing? And I guess it depends on what kind of content you're going for. Some let's plays are meant to be informative, where you have, where you're playing the game specifically for the purpose of making it into, keeping it entertaining as well, but also making a guide. So for that, you kind of want to stray away from tangents, because you're going to want to have some of the game information be conveyed to the audience. In terms of any other let's plays or streams, tangents are no problem. Going off on tangents is just just part of commentary in general. But if I had to give any advice for kind of figuring out a way to kind of dial back the tangents in a more informative one, you just be aware of where you are in the game and know when you have to sort of cut yourself off from that tangent in order to portray more information about the game, to your audience. That's pretty much it for that. Right there.
How do you decide what games to play?
Question was, how do you decide what games to play for your channel? Pretty much whatever I'm feeling like, honestly. I know some streamers, like higher up there, will get sponsored, or they'll have like one go-to game that they got popular with, so they keep sticking to that, and like, you know, never really change. The downside with that is that if you get sick of that game and want to try something new, then you tend to lose a lot of your audience who was a fan of that game. So yeah, in terms of growing, it is good to try to like stick to something that's like gaining popularity, so that way as that gets popular, you get popular with it. But it's a double-edged sword, because if, in turn you get sick of it from playing it too often, then, and you don't really want to deal with it anymore, it's kind of hard to change from that. You there with the long hair? Do I play Overwatch was the question. Yes, I do. I've streamed it a couple times, actually. Recent videos coming up that came out on my channel were actually of me and my friends, it's Gollum, Aphex, and Goon doing the Junkenstein's Revenge on a hard mode. So yeah, I play a bit of Overwatch. What do I think about Sombra? I think she's neat. I haven't. I get the feeling it's going to be the same way with how when Blizzard always releases like a new class or a new character, they're going to start off overpowered and then they're going to have patches out to kind of dial them back a little bit. So yeah, Sombra's pretty neat. I like the animation that just came out of for that, the infiltration one. So like a funny thing about that, like in the animation, when Sombra goes up to the president of the company and goes up to her and goes, yeah, she does like the boop thing, goes boop. That wasn't to be cute. If you look at the president's desk, there's a picture of the president doing the same thing to her daughter, which pretty much means that Sombra's been watching them for a long time. So yeah, I think Sombra's going to be neat, and I think she's going to start off overpowered and then get dialed back, but that's what the public test run was for. You had a question, right? What's my favorite voice I've ever done while reading character dialogue? Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many good ones. I liked oh man, when I did Paper Mario, I had a voice for Twink, the little star kid who's helping Princess Peach through everything. And I made him sound like Elmo. So through the whole thing, you just hear, every time it comes up, like, there's like the times where Twink flies down to deliver like a message from Princess Peach to Mario. It's like, Mario, the princess is... It's like really high pitched and really annoying. And I love doing that. And everyone's like, oh God, why are you doing that? It's awful. But that's one of my favorites. Oh man, I'm trying to think of some of the other ones I liked. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Twink is the one that always stands out to me, though, because that was a really fun one. That was always a good one. All right. Any other questions? Right there. What's your favorite animation you've done? As my skill gets better, I tend to like the ones that I tend to like the more recent ones much better, because my skills improved since I started doing them. So I think, in terms of writing, I like the Economal, which was the one that was a partnership between me and Lyle McDouchebag. He would write these animations that he affectionately referred to as and then I would animate them in Source Filmmaker. And a lot of people thought that I did all the voices in that, but no, that was Lyle. He did all the writing of the voices, I did all the animation. But the Economal is probably my favorite one in terms of writing. I think my favorite one that I've done, someone in chat brings up a very good point. They say, in all caps, someday my prince will come. I think my favorite one that I've done was the one I did for the Runaway guys called Pinball Hazard, I think it was called, so in Source Filmmaker you can import a lot of models very easily, as long as they're like the same type that the Source engine uses. So one of the things I did was I imported a Daisy model, and I imported a Donkey Kong model. And what I did was I managed to scale out Donkey Kong's body so just the head was there, and like somehow grafted the head of Donkey Kong onto Daisy. So it was just Daisy with Donkey Kong's head, still had the hair, still had the crown, but just Donkey Kong's head and face. And it was so good. To be honest, I did Pinball Hazard out of spite, because at the end of that clip there, where they were playing it. It's like, oh, somebody should animate this. And Proton John goes, have fun, Tom. And I'm just like, okay, I'll throw down. I'll do it. Let's go. Come on, I'll do it. You don't think I'll do it? I'll do it. And I did. So yeah, like I said, in terms of animation, Pinball Hazard. In terms of writing, the Economal. Any other questions? Any questions from the Twitch chat that you might have? Right there.
I'm just curious, like, how did you come to meet some of the channels that collaborated with, like, Chill and
Chilled, I believe I met through Smarty. And Smarty, I'm trying to think now. It's kind of hard because it always kind of like turns into a muddle where it's usually just like, I'm trying to get a group together to play games. Here's this guy that they don't know, but I think they'll go well together, and then they just meet that way. That's kind of how I met Chilled. And more or less Gollum and Z as well, and Diction actually. Now that I think about it, in terms of meeting Proton John, I did the first TRG animation, John's Lucky Break, which was the Mario Party 3 Chance Time one, where Emil lost 2 stars and gave them to John, and they love that, and so like over time I started doing co-commentary on John's streams, and that's really how I got to know them. Anybody else you were curious about? Yeah, okay. I can't think of any other like big ones off the top of my head. Any other questions? We got one from the chat here saying, what made you want to start doing YouTube, Twitch, animation, etc. in general? YouTube, I wasn't planning on really getting into. Well, nobody really ever plans on getting. Well, at least back in 2008, no one ever planned on getting into YouTube as a job. I wanted to make a Smash Brothers machinima when I first started doing YouTube back in 2008, because I was inspired by Shippage, who he currently does an animated series in Source Filmmaker called Starter Squad. I was really inspired by his series Smash-Tasm, which was a Super Smash Bros. Machinima done in Super Smash Bros. Melee, and used like all of these action replay codes to get like free roaming camera angles and accessing maps that normally shouldn't be accessed, and all this stuff. And he did a really good job at it. It was really well done, especially for its time. He looks back on it and thinks it's awful because nobody likes their early stuff, but like, But I was just like so enamored by it. I loved Super Smash Bros. At the time, and all that hype was there for when Super Smash Bros. Brawl was coming out. So I started off doing a Super Smash Bros. Machinima called Smash Fighter, and I was planning on just doing that as a hobby, not releasing things like releasing when I could, releasing videos when I could, and just doing whatever I could at the time. But then in 2000 or late 2008, people in my group of friends there who were doing Smash Machinima started getting partnered with the company Machinima, and I was like, oh man, I can start making money doing this. This is, I never expected this to be a thing. I thought it was just gonna be a hobby, and like maybe I'd be able to use those skills for things like video editing, or like I'd be able to use the experience I gained in doing silly voices for the characters to try to become a voice actor, those kind of things. And then I was recommended for a Machinima partnership, and I started focusing more on trying to make those videos happen more and more. At some point it got to the point where they were getting too difficult to make because I was bringing in a lot of voice actors from around different areas, and they all had to communicate to me through like Skype and email, and it was very touch and go. I remember there was one guy where the only contact information I had with him was on email, and I never knew when I was gonna like get a response from him in terms of when I was gonna do stuff. So then when it came to and so pretty much I just gave up on that and started doing Let's Plays. I've already been doing Let's Plays during the production of Smash Fighter, but it lasted for like 11 episodes, and then I gave it up. But by that time it had already been 3 years. It's like I only put out 11 episodes in 3 years. So in terms of streaming and animation I've always kind of been a buff on for a while. I tried doing like Flash animation, 2D animation, and then college I majored in 3D animation. I didn't have the patience to make to like make models and texture them and like make backgrounds and all that stuff. The good thing about Source Filmmaker is that it gives you the tools to just kind of jump into it, and they already have the environments, they already have the characters, they already have sound effects. If that part I like, but if you're not really in the mood to like be looking around for sound effects, then all that stuff is just there for you. I just realized I've had Meet the Heavy up here for like the past 25 minutes and I've done nothing with it. So if anybody has any Source Filmmaker related questions, I'd be able to use that for you. Going on a tangent here. In terms of getting into streaming though, that was sort of an extension of doing the Let's Plays on YouTube. I had never seen, I didn't really actually see any streams until after I graduated college. I think Twitch was fairly new at that point. So then I basically just got into streaming, and it's like, all right, but I don't want this to detract too far away from my YouTube channel. I'd rather have the one focus of the YouTube channel and maybe do streaming on the side. And now it's like they're both kind of in an even sort of balance of, okay, I'm doing both now. And that's pretty much and that's my life story. Did anybody else have any questions? You there in the tie? The question is, what kind of editing programs do I use? Well, when I started off, I was using a copy of Sony Vegas, which fell off the back of the digital truck. And then from there, Sony Vegas is good for like sort of like much shorter things and whatnot, but I moved on to Adobe Premiere since then, and now I'm paying for it. So I'm finally at that point where I can pay for it now. Piracy is bad, kids. But for starting off, you do have things like if you're on Windows Movie Maker, it's not great, but it does get the job done. And if you're on Mac, you have iMovie, which it's better than it's better than Windows Movie Maker though. Have you seen Windows Movie Maker?
Yeah, I use Final Cut Pro.
Yeah, it's that. I mean, like I've never used that one, so I couldn't really tell you if that's a good one for editing Let's Plays or not. Okay, so the person in the question or the person in the question, good lord, the person in the audience who asked the question uses Final Cut Pro and said he likes Premiere better. So yeah, Premiere is a good one for editing Let's Plays. I recently found out, I watched a video actually from one of the guys at Achievement Hunter. He did an entire like a 30-minute video about how he goes through editing the Achievement Hunter Let's Plays. And like it taught me so much, and like it makes me see like how Premiere is probably one of the better editing programs in terms of like doing Let's Plays, because if you have multicam and like you need to like switch between like different like players and like different mostly different visuals. So when you switch between the visuals, you could use that you could do that in the multicam function while it's playing, and it'll automatically cut the footage while it's playing when you switch over the multicam. So that's really good for Let's Plays, especially when you have multiple people and multiple points of view for each of the people. Lonely Day 17 asks on Twitch, are there any particular animators that you look up to for inspiration? A lot of the Flash animators I looked up to a lot when I was first starting out, like the early Flash animators, Legendary Frog, Brian Waterman. Although back in those days, it was more the fact where it's like I couldn't really draw, and I understood the concept of tweening, and it's like that looks really easy. That looks really easy, and I could do it. And it's like now it's a lot more complicated. You can't get away with tweening anymore and expect to be respected, too much. Tweening is still good. Like there's things that can be done with tweening it to still make an animation look phenomenal, look really good. But it's difficult to get away with just tweening anymore. In terms of like professional animation, I never really looked up to any professional animators for inspiration. Mostly because it was so far out of reach, like their level of animation, that I don't think I'd be. I don't think I'd be able that I'd never even considered looking up to them for inspiration. Studio Ghibli was someone in the chat said Studio Ghibli, but it's like that was one of like the out of reach sort of. Oh my god, I cannot think. Tom Brain, for anybody who has my emotes in the chat. But yeah, pretty much that's pretty much it. Does anybody else have any questions before I keep rambling on like an idiot? You there, the Inkling. Was that a question about capture devices? Okay. So in terms of capture devices, there's a lot that people can use. I personally use an Elgato HD60 Pro, which is really good for. I see the Tom brains coming out. HD60 Pro, which is good for desktop computers because it plugs right into PCIe. Almost no delay on it at all. Like there's some delay, like it probably about the same as an HD TV. But that's really good for it. It can do 1080p at 60 FPS. Kind of like I wouldn't say worthless, but kind of like too much for streams nowadays because Twitch only caps it at well, it doesn't cap it, but the quality becomes really bad if you go above 720p 60 FPS, or if you try to do more FPS than 30 at 1080p. A good one for, I'd say, well, maybe not necessarily starting off, but a good one in general for streaming is, oh my god, I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's an AverMedia model. And the reason I recommend that one is because it only does 720p at 60 FPS, which in terms of streaming, that's all you need. So, yeah, that's pretty much where I stand on that. So in terms of, there are other sort of things where you can't use any of those capture cards. Like you either need more equipment. It's like how the PS3 has HDCP. So like in order to get around that, I see people. All you need is like a regular HDMI splitter, and for whatever reason that strips the HDCP. And then there's other things like I play 3DS games on stream and for Let's Plays as well. And for that I had to send away to some guy in Utah to install a capture board on there, which hooked in through micro USB and then into a USB 2 slot on my computer. And that's super useful to be able to use, or that's super useful. Because before then, like I'd see setups where it was people who have like entire rigs where it's like okay, you place the 3DS in the slot in a block of wood, and then it's like surrounded on the other side. And there's a camera aiming directly at the 3DS. It's like no, we're not doing that. So yeah, HD60 Pro I'd say would be a good one in terms of just to have, because that one works well for Let's Plays as well. But that AverMedia I was mentioning with the model number I can't remember off at all is a good one for streaming to start off. Any other questions? Right there. My computer spec-wise. Let me pop up my Twitch channel real quick because I have all that on there. Please don't let any porn pop up. Okay. Okay. If I scroll down, is that still my information or is that Fan Art Theaters? Okay, it's my information. There we go. Right there at the bottom. So like, where'd it go? There it is. Okay, so I think some of this has changed since I started, since I made this list. But like the motherboard is a Asus X99 Deluxe. The CPU is an Intel Core i7 5930K. Which if you have Windows 10, I wouldn't recommend because that one is made with the intention that you are going to overclock it, and Windows 10 does not do overclocking very well. 16 gigabytes of RAM, DDR4. I've got an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 980 Ti, which is good for what I need now in terms of video production. It'd be better if I had a second computer for streaming, so that way I could dedicate all the resources of the GPU and the CPU to the games, as opposed to having to, if I'm playing PC games, to have to split that between the two. Basic power supply. Mainly what in terms of hard drive, what I have, I've got a SSD for like programs and for mainly like operating software and programs, and then I have like the regular HDDs for things like games or file storage or and things like that. So that's like very easy to. So yeah, that's pretty much my setup, as it were. Anybody else got anything? All right, Mako Ace K on the chat says, if you could rename your channel, what would you go with? You change it from Kitsune to Fawkes, what would be next? I'd probably keep the Tom on there, and I'd probably end up changing the Fawkes part just because I get a lot of like, oh, it's Fawkes, like Guy Fawkes, anonymous, and all that jazz. But that's not how it is. So yeah, I don't know what I'd name it next. Maybe just like go back to the Kitsune thing and have it be Tom Fawkes instead of Tom Fawkes. I don't know. Right there. The question was, how is it working with Lyle and Dex on Sanity Not Included? I didn't really work with Dex as much. I did do some of like I think I did one of the music videos for him, and that was a lot of fun to do. For Lyle, though, it was mostly that he would write a bunch of sketches, and I would machinimate for him. The one in the series finale, the Skyrim one, where it's the guard who has to make the decision of whether to follow orders or to kill the queen, and I machinimated that entire thing, and a lot of that one was so bizarre. Especially, I can't remember what the one choice was, but like he shoots the queen with a bow, and then sits on the throne, strips down, puts a bag over his head, and is just repeating over and over again, "I am the queen," as he slowly passes out on the throne. It was so weird, and he had like general directions on what to do, but I was like, how the hell am I supposed to do this? That's pretty much the answer to that. It was a lot of fun. Do you think you'll do a Let's Play of Yoshi's Woolly World before Poochie comes out? Probably not. I streamed it once or twice. Usually when I'm going into doing a Let's Play, and like a legit Let's Play, and not like the stream plays of the blind ones, I usually like to do a lot of research on the game to make sure that I'm going in with all like the possible information I can. It's really inspired by Chugga Conroy, Emil, with the more informative Let's Plays, because he takes so many notes on when it comes to getting all the information correct on his Let's Plays, and just like, oh, I don't quite remember this, let me look at my notes, okay, I'll know that for this episode. It's insane how many notes he takes. It's so unbelievable. Any other questions? You there in the green hoodie. Got to speak up, Sonny. I'm a little bit hard of hearing. I signed up for a guest spot at the request of one of my friends, and I ended up getting the guest spot. Yep. Does anybody else have any questions, whether from the chat or from? Yes, right there.
What would be your recommendation if you want to start using source filmmaking? Should you look up tutorials?
So the source, you pretty much answer your own question there. The question was how would one get started using Source Filmmaker? And if I can pull it up. Here we go, Source Filmmaker tutorial. Here we go. So the Source Filmmaker official channel has a ton of tutorials. This is pretty much how I learned how to do it. It pretty much shows you, if I can find the first one. So it shows you like basics and like, so the way Source Filmmaker works in some regard is that it uses the actual source engine as its base. So in terms of recording, so you can use it like in terms of recording if something is rigged to be able to use in the source engine, like say if something from Gary's Mod or something like that, you'd be able to record the animation from that in Source Filmmaker, and then be able to use that in and then edit that later in terms of animation. So it's got editing, sound, manipulating the models, time selection, going through all the different editors, lip syncing, different rigs. It's like I said, this is pretty much how I learned to use the entire thing. So yeah, a combination of like these tutorials and then just messing around on your own. Because if you follow the tutorials to the letter, you're pretty much really only repeating what they show you. So you kind of have to, take a mix of it, and like when you're screwing around, maybe look up the tutorials again to see like, oh, I'm having trouble doing this. Is there a step I'm missing, and then scrub through the tutorial to see if there's like a point that you're missing, and then slowly learn that on your own. So yeah, Source Filmmaker is a great one for anybody who wants to get into animation. But if you want to also model and still use Source Filmmaker, I recommend picking up the program Blender. It's a free 3D modeling program, free 3D modeling and animation program. Yeah, so it's very useful. You can also rig on there. You can export models to be able to be used in the Source engine through Blender. All right, anybody else got anything? Right there. Recording gameplay? A lot of capture cards will come with a software to record, so I usually recommend using that. If you're using something like OBS or if you end up using, it also depends. Like if you want to capture face cam as well, and you don't have like the proper editing tools for it, then OBS would be a good choice as well, because then you'd be able to put you'd be able to get the game on there and your webcam on there, and then like the audio's already there, like you'd be able to put your mic on there, and then the sound would be coming through as well. So it'd all be on one track. If you have the equipment for it and you have the software for it, highly recommend recording everything separately. So separate one for the video game, for like the games, for like the video game and the video game's audio track. That would be one track. Separate track for your face cam, separate track for your commentary, separate track for any co-commentators on there. That's just so you'd be able to mix it. You'd be able to mix the audio so that way everybody sounds even, especially in multiplayer commentaries, where I've had this issue a lot, and I wish it was more on the long, where we could each record, each person in the multiplayer video recording one track, and then just we all send it to each other, so that way we can mix it easier and not have to worry about, oh, is this person too loud, or this person is really quiet, and if they happen to scream, then they get really loud, so I can't boost them, otherwise when they scream it'll overshadow everybody else, but I can't make them quieter because they're normal talking. It becomes a big mess sometimes. But generally OBS is good if you just need to get everything on one track, but it's usually better if you can separate everything out. Anybody else? Right there. The weirdest thing I've signed today? A furry cosplayer's nose. And then someone gave me a cheesecake. That was really sweet. Thank you, person who gave me cheesecake. Anybody else? What are your thoughts on OBS having issues with the Windows 10 anniversary update? I think I have that, and it's not having as many issues. Like, I just have the usual issues I have with OBS, where sometimes it'll crash, or sometimes it will stop streaming. Like, suddenly it'll show like the streaming rate for, and in terms of like kilobits per second, and it'll go from 3,000 to 0, and just stay at 0, and just stay at 0. And then I've got to quit out of it and then upload it, which, if I'm recording at the time as well, it interrupts the recording and makes it a nightmare. Like I could just post the entire stream at a time, but then it just makes it harder to edit. Hasn't Tom signed someone's breast before? No, Midri, I don't believe I've done that. Anybody else? Just a reminder, I'm answering any questions on like YouTube Let's Plays, getting into YouTube, animating, and getting into Twitch. So if anybody has any questions regarding those, feel free to ask. Or right there.
Do you have any tips for smaller channels that get already started, or at least like trying to get that extra push to the next level?
So one thing I learned from doing this so the question was, do I have any tips for people who are starting off doing YouTube? So the biggest thing is if you're doing a Let's Play channel, consistency. Always be posting at least one video a day. The other thing though is if you're doing things that require more talent, like animation or like live action, videos and things like that, start with what you know. And then eventually so a lot of people say in a lot of industries that it's not what you know, it's who you know. In some industries that's true, but I think in creative industries, it's more the fact that you discover the what you know, and like you build on the what you know, and then that in turn attracts the who you know. And then that helps boost it more and more like that, which can also be the same way for Let's Playing in general, but like I said before, consistency. You just got to keep going. Right there. Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Oh man, I don't really think I had that problem because when I started off doing machinimas, it was never like in a public area, but the voice lines I would do would be like, I'd be in a college dorm and then it'd be one of the characters would be screaming at the top of their lungs. And so like it'd be one of those things, or I'd have to say some really weird stuff. And like in terms of the screaming, I'd have to go around and be like, I'm about to record, I'm going to be being very loud. If this bothers you, let me know, that kind of thing. But I never had that issue. I guess like in a sense, Let's Playing is a form of public speaking. So a really good way to get over that is just to practice sort of like, I guess like it's not too different from say like public radio or like or in general just like giving a speech or something like that. So if you can practice like just talking in general. It's kind of weird to say practice talking to yourself, because that you should, I mean, especially it's not something you should really do in public anyway. But yes, essentially you could practice talking to yourself, or just like practice through trial by fire kind of thing. Just practice by recording, and if that feeling consists, stop, take a break, and then like try to start up again and see how far into an episode, or like an episode, depending on how long you want it to be, how far you can get into it before like you finally feel comfortable to just like just talking about the game or just telling stories to nobody. Eventually it will reach somebody. It's just sort of like a delayed communication. So just always be talking. Just always be talking when you're playing it. If it ends up making you uncomfortable, just stop, try picking it back up again, and then just keep going, see how far you can get. Right there. So the question was, so I had a signing with Jello Apocalypse, and yeah, I did talk to him a little bit. We were mostly just like throwing jokes back and forth at each other. A lot of his stuff is really neat. I shouldn't say a lot of his stuff because I've only seen one thing, which is the Welcome to Tumblr animation, which apparently he got a lot of hate for. What can I say? Yes. When I think drama channels are going to die out? I don't know. They might be a dying breed already, considering that. I just realized I was slouching in my chair. That's not professional. Well, just answer your question from down here. Oh, okay. But no, what do I think drama channels are going to die out? I think there'll always kind of be a lingering of drama channels, but I feel like with what YouTube is trying to do in terms of the advertiser-friendly thing, where it's like if they don't deem you advertiser-friendly, then they won't bother putting ads on your video. And the YouTube Heroes thing, which a lot of people hate drama channels, and I'm pretty sure some drama channels go against TOS, but it's never picked up on because I don't think YouTube has any human employees. I'm pretty sure it's all run by robots. Someone in the chat just yelled tangent when I was talking about the sinking in my chair thing. But yeah, no, like I said, there'll always be a lingering of drama channels, but I think that it's going to start being a dying breed with YouTube Heroes and things like ad-friendly and whatnot. Right there? What do I think will go first? What was the first one? Scarce? I've never even heard of that one. I try to avoid those channels like the plague. All right, anybody else? You. So what was the card that you had? Okay. So he's pretty much asking like, what would I recommend in terms of upgrading for basically getting like the minimal to be able to. Are you looking to record or stream? Streaming. Okay. So GPU isn't the big thing in terms of at least in streaming PC games. It will help, graphically if you had a better graphics card. For the longest time, I had the GeForce 780 Ti. I don't know if they're still running in production though, because sometimes when the newer cards come out, they'll just like stop producing the older cards. But in terms of streaming, streaming really eats at your CPU. So I'd recommend a better CPU on top of that. i7, at least quad core. Any of those will help you out a lot. Check the speed on it as well, and if the model number is a K at the end of it, then that usually means it could also be overclocked. There are some streaming programs. Actually, there's a lot of things in terms of like recording and streaming that will use your graphics card for a lot of the encoding instead of your CPU. So a graphics card upgrade would also be helpful as well. But streaming really does eat at your CPU, so consider looking into that. Not really over a video card, but in addition to a video card. Do you find it difficult to speak without swearing constantly? Do I swear that much on my streams? I mean, no. Like, I don't really have that issue with like trying to speak and like not swear. I just have issues with public speaking in general. I just have issues with speaking in general. You notice that when I'm up here, I stutter. I say but like if I can become popular speaking at this pace, then it's it's not too difficult. Any other questions? Right there. How do I deal with content ID? I don't. A lot of the videos I put up that are Nintendo related get claimed, and I just have to bear through it because if I take it, like if it's like one part and it's like, well, I don't want them getting money off me, so I'll take the video down, then it'd be like a part of like if it's a story driven Let's Play, I absolutely can't do that. But overall, it's it's content. Even if I'm not making money from it, I might as well leave it up there because at least it'll draw more people in, and the content that is getting ad revenue, is still granting me that revenue, and more people are going to see it because I kept posting the videos that were still getting content ID'd. There's some workarounds to it. Some channels are able to bypass that because there's kind of like a two-tier system. There's automatic content IDing, and there's one where the people actually have to go through the videos and then claim them themselves. The automatic one, a lot of the bigger channels are exempt from the automatic content ID claims because they've shown that they understand like the concept of like it's because pretty much a lot of the stuff that goes on YouTube, unless it's like directly ripped off like a video and put onto YouTube and just showing that without any sort of edit or anything like that, is pretty much just like I completely lost my train of thought. But no, pretty much like oh man, I'm floundering up here now. Going back. Brain, please. So yeah, like the bigger channels, like I've shown that they can handle like the copyright stuff well. So they're able to be exempt from the automatic claims. But if a company feels that they're infringing on their rights, and they can go in and automatically be like, there's no automatic to it anymore. The people from the company have to watch the video and be like, this is infringing on our rights. We're taking action on this kind of deal. So, and I'm just not at that point where I can avoid content ID claims. Any other questions? On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous were you about doing this panel? Pretty nervous. This is my first solo panel. I've never done a panel where it's just me up here just kind of talking. So, yeah, I really need to get better at public speaking over an open crowd like this. Anybody else? Right there? Oh, sorry? This is my first Youmacon. The question was, what's my experience been like at the con? It's my first Youmacon. It's really hard to find my way around. Like this, like the Kobo is fine. The Kobo is like a regular convention center, but going over to the Ren Center, oh my God, it's so hard to find my way around. I think like before I went to the opening ceremonies, I got to the Ren Center at around 10 a.m. and from 10 a.m. to 11. I spent looking for a bathroom, and I finally found one. And then from 11 to I'd say 11:45, I was looking for the theater where the opening ceremonies were going to be because guests had to be there early. Morales Plox asks, any aspects of animation you're still looking to improve on? I'm still working on minor details and lighting myself. There's always things. At some point, I would like to try to get back into modeling. Like custom models to import into Source FilmMaker, but lighting's not too much of an issue. Particles are something that I desperately need to work on. Excuse me. All right, got about 5 minutes left. We got any more questions from anybody? Right there. Question was, do I take gifts from my viewers in terms of games to play? So for a while, I used to do these streams called fortune cookie streams, which I ripped off from Proton John, where I would record all the games that I owned into an account called Backloggery, and then I would go to this function I called fortune cookie, and then I set parameters and click on it, and then the fortune cookie would open and it would show like the name of a game in there, and we put that to a vote kind of thing. I don't do those as much anymore. I really want to pick back up on those streams, but yes, I do accept. I did accept gifts for games in terms of like what to stream. I don't really accept gifts for streaming in terms of like, hey, I sent you this game. You should do an entire Let's Play on it, because it's like, first off, if it's a game that I have no experience in whatsoever, then it's like it almost seems like it's like thrust upon me, and it's like okay, you just gave me Xenoblade Chronicles, a game I've never played before, and apparently takes well over 100 hours to beat. So yeah, so usually like I'll give it the if people send me stuff, then I'll usually put it aside specifically for fortune cookie streams, and then they'll be like, it'll be like a point where it's like, okay, so we're gonna pick the games, and then there's going to be this specific category of games that you could vote on that somebody sent me, kind of deal. So yeah. Anybody else before we end off here? We got about 3 minutes left. Anybody in the chat? Where do you think you would be right now, career-wise, if you didn't start YouTube? I'd probably be homeless. I did not know what else to do aside from like doing the YouTube stuff. Like my goal was to like, try to get into voice acting, and I was like at that time, like at least before I started YouTube, I was 18 and I was like, very eager to try and get into it, but I didn't know the first thing of like where to go, and I wasn't really looking for advice on it. So it's like, I'll just pop into Funimation one day and be like, I can do voices, and they'll give me a job. That's not how it goes at all. And if you try to do that, I'm pretty sure you get blacklisted. All right. Yeah, anybody else? Right there. So my favorite moment in terms of streaming and Let's Playing. I think the Mario Party stream where we got chance time 4 times in one turn probably tops that list. Although I guess you can't really say that it's like, that it was, because the whole deal with that was that it was hilarious, first of all, because I wasn't expecting it. Because it was, first somebody rolled a number, got onto the chance time slot, and then somebody rolled another big number, got into the chance time slot again. The next 2 turns were warp blocks that warped them both to the chance time slot, and then I lost all my money in 1 turn from that. You had a question?
Yeah, I was wondering, how important are pink yoga pants in the stream?
The question was, how important are pink yoga pants for a stream? To those of you who do not normally watch me, for the longest time, I did a series of streams called Workout Wednesday, where I would play We Fit You, starting off in like normal workout clothes, where it was like a t-shirt and like shorts, but then we had a sub-goal where I would start doing it permanently in pink yoga pants if we reached the sub-goal. We reached the sub-goal. So I guess at this point, not terribly important, but they will eventually get to a point. Like I said, I do want to start doing some of the older streams again, and I might start doing Workout Wednesday again, because that was a lot of fun. A lot of people in the chat right now are saying that they are very important, and I even see one of the Tom Butt emote for the pink yoga. There we go. There they come. There go the butts. All right. Got 1 minute left, so one last question right there. What's my opinion on AGDQ? I've heard that there's some drama surrounding it apparently, but I always thought the money's going to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, Doctors Without Borders. I think it's a really good cause. Like I mean, like, I don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes, and I don't really care because it's some of my friends have to deal with the stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but it's all going to a good cause. So I really like AGDQ and SGDQ as an aside to that. All right, I believe this is the point where we gotta end. So thank you all for coming out. We never did get a chance to use Source Filmmaker here, so I'll do one quick thing in Source Filmmaker just to edit something. I can't seem to grab anything, so I guess that's it.